This is Eric Allen. I'm a project manager with Trusted IT Group, and I just wanted to share some quick tips. Some of the things one of the little things I've learned in the long, shall we say, and mediocre to distinguished career I started since 1960. I'm sorry, 1996 is about the time I started in IT project management, and then later went into ITIL certifications, and I even got my CIO certification and maintained project management for a very long time. And now I've got all the more modern ones, the Six Sigma, the Agile and Scrum, and some of the others. So just wanted to talk a little bit about value streams. Hope you'll find it useful, and we'll go from there. I'm just going to put the slides in the forefront, and we'll go. Okay, so when I started looking at value streams, I really thought about some of the different areas I'd worked in. So I looked up ITIL, I looked up SAFE and PMI, and I looked for the descriptions, which is what you're seeing on the screen, brief descriptions that represent what each of these groups thinks about PMI. So a couple things I right off the bat is that all of the groups mention value streams. That is significant enough. PMI and ITIL I know have been around well since the 90s and beyond. SAFE and Agile and those came on a little bit later, but still equally long-lived frameworks to work by. So there's some commonality that I found in these, and you probably just looked through those as I was talking. So let's go look at some of the common things. So some of the things are, so this is telling us really what a value stream is. A series of steps or actions. Okay, so it's steps or actions, but it's not a thing, right? And they're being performed to provide products, services, and solutions. So I was actually pleased to find that all of those were mentioned, which means that it's not just, again, a fictitious thing. It could be anything you've currently been doing. Let's say you're working in Lean Six Sigma or Six Sigma. It's probably something to do with assembly lines, right? You're producing or taking a series of steps, and you're producing a service, a product, or a solution, and it is specifically for a customer. And in this case, almost all of these organizations stress the value of the customer's perspective of value. It's not your perspective, it's what they see out of the product or the service or the solution. And then they also mention that it's from the point of a request, basically the initiation of a demand for something, all the way to when it's retired. And I thought about that a little bit, and disposal was a little bit tough for me, is the best word I can think of. But if you're a person that's saving the world's environment, then disposing of a paper cup is probably more important to you than a styrofoam cup. Then you would probably frequent places that have paper cups versus styrofoam cups or plastic cups, etc. So these things really are broad, but it gives you a good idea of where you can go with this. So this applies to basically everything, is what I'm saying, from the customer's perspective. So the next part I went into was, I said, why would you want to do this? And what I found was that really, since all of these things are to generate business for yourself, and the way it's pointed is to the customer's view of value, is that you want to do this to get noticed, right? You can't have a business unless you stand out from the crowd and get noticed, for good or for bad. Someone, as they say, bad publicity is good publicity, or any publicity is good publicity. But if you're in a cost battle with another series of companies of who can get the lowest cost, that's a pretty grim place to be, right? But if you can switch to some feature that gives you an outstanding value, maybe you are the only one that makes a paper cup at the lowest price or near the lowest price, then you just became the valuable guy in the market. You're showing value to those customers, and you're going to draw those customers to you. Okay, so you really want to do this if you want to stand out and get noticed. And the second thing is that price is somewhat in your control. Like with Lean's, Six Sigma, and them, you can eradicate things that are not specific to your business, and you can get the cost lower and lower. But again, you're fighting with other companies to get it lower and lower. And if you're not effective and you're not brutal about how much your cost is, it's an iffy thing whether you can win a bid or not and stand out. But if you can add value and even justify why you're more expensive, or even draw those customers in who have a red line, such as that, ecologically friendly assembly line and disposal, then you will get business. So that's what I came to, is that it's to stand out and get noticed, and that is good for you, and it gets you out of those pricing battles, right? Hit the wrong button. Okay, so a little bit further expansion on that. One of the things I also looked up, I kind of do this, I kind of drill into areas, and I said, really, give me some other definitions of value and price. So something I found that was interesting was price is always the minimum price available. If someone is buying a price, they're always going to buy the lowest possible they can find, right? And that's driven by supply and demand. If there's lots of it, the price is going to go down, which means that your cost must go down per unit. Right? So, but if you're going on value, you're really getting to that customer's need. You could have the best car in the world, but if the person values, Rolls Royce, you're never going to get that buy. That's an incredibly hard sell, because for some reason, many, many people that are wealthy value Rolls Royce. It's a quality machine and, all those factors, but they want to be seen in a Rolls Royce. They don't want to be seen in something else. There is a value to them. Okay. So value, if you compare it to price, minimum price available versus a maximum price worth paying. The better you make it, the more they will be willing to pay. Okay, that's two great differentiators right there of why you want to stay with value streams. Okay, so the next thing was, where do you want to start? And I always start from kind of looking back at some of the architecture work I've done and things like that. And I always come back to systems, people, and process, right? So that's where I start. I recommend you start, and it seems to work real well. The big steps that I've found that are called out are basically, you need to identify those steps and activities, which we mentioned in the definitions. You need to identify who performs them. You need to identify what the systems and tools are that they use to do that process or activity. And then you want to identify who makes the systems and tools for those people. So if you're a software development, a lot of your work is actually in that last category, right? If you're on the assembly line and you're putting things together, whether it's physical or a service, you're really in that second line, identify who performs them, right? And you're using tools to help you do that were built by a developer in the background. So ITIL drifts more to that second one. Six Sigma drills more to the second and first one, and software development sits more to the back, unless it's a specific product for the product outside environment and goes to the shelf or a custom product, let's say. Okay. When we look at the tools and systems, now we always think in terms of, as a software developer, software and project management, I always think of software systems. I think of infrastructure like routers and firewalls and virtual machines and things like that. But this could also be systems like calibration devices. It could also be tools that help you make other tools, right? In a machine shop, special tools can be used to make certain types of materials, super hard metals, etc. So this applies to a lot of things, right? Hospitals, for example, would have tools that measure the ability of their current tools to be accurate. Okay. Now this is kind of a pictorial of that, right? This is, I called the Widget Factory because it can be pretty much anything. But as you can see, I just kind of laid out some generic steps from the left to the right, and I made them, this could just as easily have been an HR. It could have been recruit, train, or recruit, onboard, train, promote, maintain, benefits, etc., and then retire. Could have been just as easily that or any other process. But you have people that are doing those things in that first row, right? Some of those are going to be engineers, some are going to be crash test dummies like me. But these are the people that are hands-on delivering the product to the end customer in most cases. Right? So if I'm a wholesale agricultural person, then I'm probably in here either up or down street. I would be in here either making products, harvesting cocoa or harvesting corn or whatever it may be, or wheat. I may be packaging it, I may be shipping it, I may be delivering it, and then, or freezing it and storing it and then delivering it. I might be tracking the operation of that service and that delivery from the operational standpoint. Okay, the various tools, scientists. I've been in several of these. I've worked in several of these industrial areas where scientists are key. Petroleum, right? Scientists are there. That's part of their I think it's their downstream. I'm sorry, upstream. They are definitely trying to. They're doing scientific work. Well, they need scientific tools. They need scientific software. They need stuff that is extremely accurate. So all of these steps or these tools are aligned to these steps, and they're important to the value stream. They comprise the hardware and software portion of it. And then the last line you would call out would be the actual people that are developing those tools. Even if it's writing a manual, right below operate, I have a stack of books, right? Someone writes manuals, someone writes instructions. Someone maintains software under maintain, right? They maintain the software or the systems that are used on the, let's say, the railroad lines. Right? Railroad lines are delivering on time, trains safely, right? So all of that software is in there. Disposing of things. Someone's got to rent trucks. Someone's got to purchase trucks so that things can be disposed of properly. Someone has to find develop software that helps people to find the best buys for their core materials, et cetera. That would be more up to the front. So all of it is there. So this is really what a value stream might look like when it's mapped out. I'm not going to talk about it this time, but I think I'll do this next part to understand that value stream better, you need to understand the cost associated with it. And then you need to start looking at how the value is derived. Okay. So I think I'll cover those in my next segment. Hopefully this has made sense. We've talked a little bit about what a value stream is, which frameworks it comes from. It's important that it's focused on the value perceived by the customer. And that the value stream itself is made up of the steps or processes, the people that are doing the work, the tools and systems that they use, and the people who help develop those tools and systems. So I hope that makes sense, and I hope you'll join me again for another one of these. Thank you very much. All right. Have a good night.